I couldn't be more excited to share that we had our very first guest on the Florida Gardener podcast. Bailey is head gardener at a 19th century estate in Dorset, England. We got to talking because, believe it or not, Bailey is a listener of the Florida Gardener podcast, and he has visited Florida a few times now. My love and appreciation for British gardening runs deep. So when Bailey was kind enough to do the podcast, I was beyond elated. He is a modest guy, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know his experience is extremely impressive. At only 28, he has already done so much, including, spoiler alert, creating displays for the Chelsea Flower Show. For those that aren't familiar, that's like the American equivalent of making it to the gardening Super Bowl. We chatted for a while, so I'm breaking up our conversation into two separate episodes. Part 1 is all about British gardening and what it's been like for Bailey working on the restoration and redevelopment of the 20-acre estate. Part 2 will be more about Florida, discussing our tropical plants and gaining a British perspective on them. Please have a bit of grace, or as Bailey said, British grace, as this is my first time interviewing someone on the podcast, and it's Bailey's first time as a podcast guest. Neither of us thought we would be making this episode, but life is odd in the most wonderful ways sometimes. I really felt compelled after our email exchange and having the pleasure to see photos of the estate and gardens. It's so English. I know for them, probably every home and garden has that much character and charm, but my jaw dropped at the beauty and the sheer size of the estate. It's truly impressive what he has done. So without further ado, cozy up with a warm cup of tea and enjoy this episode. So thanks so much for coming on today, Bailey. Before we get right into it, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Would love to know how you got here.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. So I was born in a small town in the UK. It used to actually be the old capital of the UK, a town called Winchester. So I was born there. However, I was raised kind of on the south coast of the UK. And I wasn't exactly sure how or what I wanted to do when I kind of left school or left college. So I did kind of a few in-between jobs here and there. And then over the summer, I started working with my granddad, who was a gardener at the time. And so it kind of sparked my interest originally within this kind of career field. I still wasn't completely sure as to what I wanted to do as a career, but I thought this was quite a fun thing to do, and I enjoyed it, and it wasn't kind of a chore to work with him. So I kind of fell into that. And then, left school, still didn't know what I wanted to do. So went traveling for a little while and, went to a summer camp in upstate New York and worked there for a couple of summers. And then kind of come back from there and went to college for 2 years and studied horticulture.
Did you go back to university for horticulture or?
Yes, okay. I did. Yeah. Okay. So I finished school, then did college and did engineering actually, and found that it wasn't for me. Spent a little time away from education and then went back because I thought, I actually kind of do need to start thinking about what I want to do with the future. So then studied horticultural course for 2 years and then graduated from there. And then, so that was kind of like the early days and how I got interested into it, really.
I think a lot of people end up, with similar stories. But I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was younger. I really didn't know that I was interested in plants or how interested I was until like my mid-20s, so like 25. And I'm 35. Oh, I'm sorry, 36 now. I mean, I guess, some folks, obviously they know at a very young age. But I think that's one of the great things about, what we do is you can take, it doesn't have to be like a straightforward path, Yeah,
no, I understand. And I think, it's great that for those small amount of people that know exactly what they want to do when they leave college or school, I think it's amazing, but also kind of
absolutely
led me down a pathway of like, maybe should I know what I want to do kind of straight from finishing college, and almost leads like this expectation of knowing what you want to do.
Yes.
For a lot of people, that just isn't the case. It's just not a common thing. So you kind of work through that and figure out what you enjoy most and work from that, really.
Okay, so then you went back to school for
Yeah.
2 years, got the horticulture degree,
Yeah.
and then from there, kind of what happened next?
Yeah, so I wasn't exactly sure as to what field of horticulture I wanted to work within. So it got to a point where I was kind of emailing around a few different companies, and I got quite interested in working at a golf course as a greenskeeper. So my dad was on my back. He was like, "All right, I need to start looking for a job." Exactly know what. So I must have emailed, I don't know, maybe 10 golf courses in the local area. Well, I'll say local, kind of in the rough local area. And yeah, just kind of threw out my resume or CV kind of to all of these different courses just to try and get something. One of them responded. So I went for a very informal interview. I think a lot of horticultural roles tend to be quite informal. So yeah, so it turned out they wanted to hire me. So I worked for at a golf course for 2 years as a greenskeeper. They're maintaining fairways and greens and just all of the kind of general upkeep and maintenance of the golf course.
Okay, that's so interesting. I don't think I've ever talked to someone that actually does that. And I'm in South Florida, which is like a haven for, I guess, Florida as a whole, but specifically South Florida is like a haven for golfing and everything like that. So
Right.
I buy them all the time. I'm surrounded. But that's really interesting. I'm sure that was like really good experience, especially, getting your feet wet in the beginning.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think one of the major things I took away from that was obviously, well, it's 95% lawn care. So
Yeah.
taking through that experience with all of the gardens and kind of projects and clients areas that I kind of work at, it's been very useful. Kind of just the general lawn care and maintenance side of things. That's quite a big part of a lot of people's gardens is a lawn. So it's extremely useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they take a lot of work. So
Oh yes. Yeah. So after that, so I worked at the golf course for 2 years, and then decided to move to London, just for career opportunities and kind of really get stuck into the horticultural side of things. Because there's obviously a lot more money within the London area, so it kind of gives you a lot more free range as to what you can do, and the projects are all quite exciting. So that was with the Botanical Gardener. So again, I worked for them just for under 2 years. Yeah, that was really exciting, actually. There's so many amazing properties and gardens throughout of London.
So after the Botanical Gardener, that's when you ended up where you are now, which is head gardener at a 19th century estate in Dorset.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It sounds lovely. So I would love to hear more about it.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously, well, it was completely unexpected, really. I'd kind of had a regular round in London working at these very nice houses and very nice gardens. And so there's a regular round every Friday. I'd be there for half a day in the northwest London area. So I was working for the clients for just under 2 years. And one day they come out and asked if I knew of anyone or if I'd be interested in kind of helping renovate and maintain the country estate that they bought recently at that time. And so yeah, it kind of stemmed from there, really. Is kind of a no-brainer for me. I didn't want to seem so keen to start with. I was trying to play it cool.
It was a client that you were taking care of their garden at the Botanical Gardener that asked you if you were interested. Okay.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. So lovely couple that live in northwest London, and they bought the property I think about 4 years ago now. So this is kind of the I guess country retreat. So when they stay in the 2 cottages which are on the site. Eventually, I think they'd obviously like to step at the main house there, and it's a huge undergoing huge project. So they needed someone to kind of live on site and help with the renovations and maintenance of the grounds.
That's neat. So you're living on site too, and
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I was living up at the main house until December recently, and they just started renovation on that. So fortunately, one of our neighbours sold their house, and my client decided to buy that. So now I'm living in the house on site still. So it's extremely useful at my doorstep. So
yeah,
beats traveling into into work every day in London. So,
I was just going to say, you don't have a long commute, that's for sure.
Definitely not. Yeah.
So you're specifically working on like the restoration and the redevelopment of 20 acres, which
that's right.
I just found like incredibly interesting, and frankly, like I just really wanted to talk. I was like, whether he does like the podcast or not, like I'm just so fascinated.
So it's around 20 acres. A fair amount of it is woodland. I'd say I don't know, maybe 30-40% of it's woodland. But the thing is, it's kind of the previous owners didn't really take care of the land, so it's been fairly neglected for about 50 to 75 years. So there's a lot of kind of invasive species. A lot of the woodland is kind of just being taken over by non-native species. So a part of the work is clearing of that and then replanting of the native species. So that was quite a big undertaking. That's what I mainly do in the winter months when it starts getting colder. Woodland clearance and replanting, just trying to restore a bit of balance. So recently there's 2 cottages on site that have just been completed. So they've all been replanted in the spring with kind of cottage style planting. So that's quite a big part of that. Although it being south facing, it does get very warm, and a lot of the plants that are chosen were drought tolerant. So there's quite a few Mediterranean style plants in there too. So it's kind of a cross between cottage Mediterranean style planting, which I find quite fascinating, really.
Really can do so much. I mean, even with, because you brought up invasives, like, you know, native plants, especially here, still kind of have like that stigma of being like messy and unkept. It's not the plant, it's how it's arranged. So it's really interesting to me to hear that, because there really is so much opportunity to be creative, and to still keep in line with like the style or the aesthetic of the estate, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just going back to the invasive species, so there's a fair bit of Japanese knotweed on site as well, which I went to do a course on kind of the treating of knotweed safely and effectively, and it seems that Dorset is one of the hotspots as to where they're originally brought in from Japan back in the day as an ornamental plant, and it seems to have just taken over now. So yeah, trying to restore the balance of that, it's been an interesting project, that's for sure.
How do you guys typically get rid of them? That's something I've always wondered, because you know we have these issues all over the place. It's really a problem here. Brazilian pepper is a big one that we deal with, but I just find that like the best way, unfortunately, to get rid of them, and I'm not trying to like put you on the spot or anything like that, but it just seems like everybody just sprays them, you know, like we're just like dousing everything in chemicals to get rid of them. And I understand like the reason.
In the estate, it's really not a huge issue at the moment, if I'm quite honest with you. I mean, I'd understand people in London who live very close quarters to other people. They're worried about it kind of affecting the foundations of the houses and just causing havoc there. But living in the countryside and with such a large area, it's really not a huge problem. It's contained. Yeah, I mean, it's probably quite easy to get complacent with it, but I think if you're just sensible and kind of keep on top of it, then it's really not a huge problem. Going back to your question, try and dig out as much as possible. But I think when it does become a larger issue, I mean, spraying is just like not fail safe. It's a more effective method, I think. The only thing that's kind of sprayed here is the knotweed. Everything else kind of as organically as possible.
Well, like you kind of said, you know, being proactive with it and keeping it, you know, manageable. Like that's really,
because the last thing you want is to get complacent, let it spread, and then have to use twice as much chemicals or 5 times more chemicals. So it's just kind of little and often kind of removing it as and when, just to prevent it getting too chaotic.
Okay, so you do a lot of that kind of work in, you said like the winter. I guess that makes sense, because the plants are kind of growing slower too. Well, I guess, and this is my Florida brain also having to, I think backward, like think opposite. But yeah, you're focused on planting and, you know, making everything look pretty in the spring and summer months. So that makes a lot of sense.
It's very difficult to balance. I mean, the winter's the best time because all the trees are dormant, and you're right, everything stops growing. So it's the best time to prune a lot of trees. I mean, there's some that prefer summer pruning, like cherries and things like that. But a lot of the kind of a lot of the trees we are removing are bigger trees, or pruning, not removing all of them, but yeah, we're definitely not removing all of the trees. But any tree, the work that does need to be done, yeah, it's done in the winter time, just to help with the overall health. But yeah, it's impossible to balance kind of maintenance and the clearance. So it's a good time to, when everything starts slowing, it's a good time to keep warm in the woods with your chainsaw. It's actually really fun. I quite enjoy it because you get up in the morning, it's cold, but once you get moving, you make a coffee to go, get a little fire going in the woods and start kind of reducing the trees and pruning. Yeah, it's quite an adventurous activity, to be honest.
Yeah.
I quite like it.
Well, I mean, any opportunity just to get outside, right? And like, I don't know about you, but well, with the scale of the job that you're doing, I'm sure working with lots of people, which we'll get into in a moment. But I'm more of like a one-man show, and a lot of the stuff that I do, I work with other folks or pull them in when needed. But I'm doing a lot of like urban container gardening and interior scapes. But anyway, my point to all of that is you just saying that it's like my favorite part of the job is just kind of like getting out there, just me and the plants, and I really enjoy the solitude. It's really, really nice and relaxing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yeah, the winters, I'm sure we'll get onto the weather at some point, but the winters can be quite cold and tough sometimes. But it's nice when you've got a kind of a frosty, well, everything's the frosty fields surrounding you, and the sun's out. It's quite pleasant, really. Yeah, it really is quite magical sometimes, especially if we've got some snow as well. Adds to the atmosphere.
What would you say is your favorite part of the job, working on the estate?
It's quite a difficult decision, but it's quite satisfying because of the estate and the current place it's in at the moment, where it has been neglected for so many years. It's quite satisfying and rewarding to start changing these different sections of the estate. I mean, sometimes it's quite difficult to see beyond the kind of see to the bigger picture. Like, I'm doing all these tasks around the estate, and obviously all of these smaller jobs are building up to the final kind of completion of the estate. But sometimes it is difficult to see past that. But it's nice working on areas, and kind of I always take lots of pictures so that I can kind of look back to see kind of the impact that I've had. So yeah, kind of changing areas for the better, always very kind of satisfying that I've made a difference to the area. For example, kind of last winter, removing lots of the non-native species, replanting, and now kind of a year and a half on, you can start to see them growing. It's a bit of like a game of patience you have to pay sometimes to kind of really appreciate the work that you have done.
Totally. I feel like patience and the art of observation are like the two, like, I don't know, one of the two most important skills in my opinion. When gardening, and you saying, taking the photos and everything. Because I mean, it can sometimes feel like you're not
it's
making a lot of progress
sometimes. Yeah.
And then you look back and you're like, holy moly, this is a totally different space.
Yeah, and it's nice too, because where I'm here all the time at the same place, it's very easy to kind of just grow accustomed to what you've done. So it's nice when the owners come and visit. When they do visit, they can really see a difference, and you're like, oh, okay. If you take a step back and look from the bigger picture, I have actually made quite a big difference here. But in the moment, working on the same thing for a few days or a week or however long it takes, it can get kind of just get a bit of tunnel vision and not really kind of see what you have done. So it's nice to get a bit of feedback and from the outside world, so to speak. Kind of, I'd say that's one of my favorite things, but also kind of I get to meet a lot of interesting people from many different backgrounds that kind of come to the estate. So there's kind of like ecologists and hydrologists.
Oh, interesting.
Engineers.
Okay.
I mean, because the area is so protected, we have all of these kind of people that come to consult and work with me to figure out what we can and can't do and things like that. So it's not just all about the physical garden work, but the interesting people along the way.
So just, I guess, kind of segueing, into that, what does, I guess, like the crew or just the folks that I guess you're interacting with and consulting with, like on a typical week, or if we want to zoom out, even more than that, but just to kind of give us a better, understanding.
There's quite a few people involved, to be honest with you. I mean, we have quite a few rare bats that kind of live in the main house and around the area. So I think it's quarterly. The ecologists will come by and see how they're doing, and we've had to build kind of various alternate accommodations for the bats whilst the main house is being renovated. So there's all these rules and regulations in place that we have to follow.
Okay, I think maybe I misheard you. I thought you said rear back, and I was going to ask you what that is. So your bats. Okay.
Bats.
Okay.
Yeah, bats. Yeah. So yeah, lots of bats.
Oh, I love bats.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah. They have such a bad stigma, but I mean, yeah, if I could put a bat house up, where I live, I would do it all day.
No, yeah, it's great kind of in the evenings. If you, even in my house, you see them flying around, and driving around the lanes, you can see them kind of out at dusk, kind of floating around.
Neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, so one day they come around and they all sat around the house to monitor the bats, and they had like their little sonar kind of devices, so you could listen to them. It's very kind of eerie, but extremely interesting. So it ranges from there, and then we have hydrologists that kind of come and consult, because we're kind of at like at the bottom of another field. So all of the natural spring water comes from that field. So it's all about water management. And where it has been left for so many years, kind of pipes have become blocked, and there's been flooding in different areas. So I've been recently working with a really good group of guys who have kind of cleared all of the ditches and put leaky dams in and created rock pools, and we're going to start planting those up soon. There used to be the water garden or the bog garden back in the day, so we're kind of really trying to renovate all of that and bring it back to its former glory. There's tree consultants, that what we can and can't do. All of the trees on our site are protected. So if we want to do any kind of tree work, I have to write to the local council and get permission. They'll come and visit and give me the go-ahead. But I work alongside landscape architects too, who are designing the areas. So speak with them a lot about what will work and what won't work. So it's kind of, they're obviously very knowledgeable, but sometimes on paper things will work. Move it to the actual site, then some things might not necessarily work. So it's all about kind of giving them feedback and kind of trying to give them alternative options, really, that you think will work.
Everybody brings something different to the table, and I respect all positions within the field, but it is interesting because I've heard that before, with sometimes what they design doesn't necessarily always work out, but that's where, right, you just like kind of consult with them.
It's part of the process, isn't it, really?
Exactly.
I guess another reason why I'm here is to help not just do all of the physical planting and maintenance and care, but also feeding back and letting people that aren't actually on site what is possible and what isn't possible.
Because you're out there every day, and you're noticing all of those little things too. So I was kind of curious, just so much that's kind of going on. I mean, well, first off, like the variety just sounds like it would be so interesting, but I am, curious too, like how long do you think that this whole project will end up taking?
I mean, I think it's going to be always ever evolving, as a lot of things are. Because even in the cottage garden here, we've planted up the whole area, but there's always a progression there where I'm now taking pictures through the seasons to see what could be changed or what's doing great and what isn't doing so well. So I think there's always going to be the aspect of not just the cottage garden, but the whole estate, But as a timescale for the whole thing, probably a good couple of years at least from here, at least, because that's when the main house is going to be finished. So everyone's been told. I mean, obviously there are delays and things like that. There's a lot of different contractors that are kind of relied upon. So if there's a hold up with one thing, then it kind of is a bit of a chain reaction, really. So it's difficult to give an exact kind of time scale, but I'd like to think within a couple of years it'll be to a point where it's almost there.
As far as the growing conditions go, what is the weather typically like going from London to Dorset? I'm sure with that being a little bit more coastal, that's a little bit different there for you.
So I think there's obviously a huge kind of I mean, everyone has their own ideas what the weather's like in the UK, right? And I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people from the UK will tell you that it's very rainy. But I know this year has been. I know it's not the same every year, but this year has been quite amazing. We've had an amazing spring and summer. I think it's one of the driest springs that we've had in quite a while. We've had a lot of sunshine, which it's been great for growing all of
Oh, I
these new
bet.
Mediterranean plants. Everything's really thriving. So I can't remember when we started it, but in May there's a new vegetable garden which was installed. So we imported kind of all of the soil, and we've kind of laid down a kind of like a cardboard mulch to help suppress the weeds. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a instant impact vegetable garden, which we started very late in the season, but it's done amazingly well, and we have kind of a huge amount of different vegetables there. So that's been very successful. Yeah, it's been very warm, very dry. A lot of watering has had to be done because there's no kind of irrigation systems yet at the cottages. It's been hand watering, so it's taking up quite a lot of time, which it's okay. It's nice to go in the morning with a coffee and just kind of water the plants and hang out for a bit. It's not so labor intensive, but it's just in the summer, it's either obviously earlier in the morning or later at night. So it's having to be a bit flexible with the hours in the day, really, to kind of manage that.
I'm actually a big fan of, of course, irrigation serves a purpose and we need it. My personal garden, they had irrigation installed from the previous owner, but I had it shut off.
Okay.
And just kind of like
right.
as an experiment. You have to have a high tolerance though, right? For they're going to take longer to grow, and you're not going to get that immediate impact necessarily. But if you have the patience,
Exactly. It goes back to the patience again, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's cool.
But yeah, so a lot of the UK, well, in the southwest and London area, had hosepipe bans, so you weren't actually allowed to water. You're only allowed to use water for obviously household things, but when it comes to watering plants, there's a ban for quite a while actually. But luckily down in Dorset, we haven't had a hosepipe ban for a very long time. Yeah, so we're obviously approaching the autumn now, but yesterday was nice. It was nice and warm. I think, yeah, kind of going to the autumn, we get more rainfall for sure, which is nice. But it's still warm enough for the plants to grow. So we kind of get another kind of boost of growth, especially with the lawns and things like that. Everything's now being watered and it's still mild enough for these plants to grow. It's almost like another kind of a fifth season,
When do you guys kind of, I guess, shut down? When does growing season stop for you all?
I'd probably say for me it's around late October, or probably even, it depends with global warming and things. I feel like the seasons are kind of being extended, right? Which is, it's great in the fact we get more sun and it's warmer, but not so great for everything else. There's a selfish way of looking at it, I suppose. But yeah, probably like around November time is when you start seeing things die back, and then you can either cut them back or leave them to the spring and cut them back then. Because it kind of leaving the dead material adds a bit of protection for the crown of the plants and things like that, especially with ferns. You kind of want to leave the fronds on there until the spring. When you see the new growth emerging, then you can cut back the old growth and go from there, really.
That makes sense. I mean, you're kind of speaking a foreign language to me just because I don't have to worry about a lot of stuff, but it absolutely makes sense.
It's definitely adds another layer. I was trying to wrap my brain around not having to do that. Again, very alien.
We're getting into like our, I guess, growing. I mean, really, you can grow year round down here, but for a lot of folks, especially like edible gardeners and stuff like that, right now they're planning, their gardens for, I mean, I would say November, depends on exactly where you are in the state, but November through like March, April is amazing. So you said, November, you kind of wind down, and then when do things kind of kick back up in spring? Is it like March or April?
Yeah, it tends to be kind of mid-March time. Again, it was quite a warm spring, so everything got going very quickly. Kind of, you see all the buds kind of starting to grow, and all of a sudden you're kind of overwhelmed and with new tasks to do.
But it must be real nice, you having the change of seasons. I mean, I just always thought that.
It's nice in a sense. I mean, winters they could drag on a little, They drag on, but then it does make you appreciate when it starts to get warmer again. You kind of use that winter time to kind of figure out and plan for the next seasons coming up, and use
Totally.
that winter time to do a bit more kind of clearance, bigger impact jobs. So yeah, it gives you a bit of time to kind of consolidate and move forward, really.
Yeah, it kind of forces you to slow down and do that when
Exactly.
regarding, kind of the team that you work with, obviously there's the architects and the tree consultants and all of that. But on a day-to-day with like gardening, how many, other people are you working with to do just, like your standard gardening maintenance?
Yeah. So it might be a bit of a surprise, but it is just me.
Oh, really?
There's
That's awesome. Okay. That's cool.
There's a girl who comes to help every Wednesday, and she helps with the vegetable garden, just because it's a huge kind of instant thing that we have now started to do. But I think the long-term plan, obviously, when things are starting to be developed, then we will need more people here. This is, I'd say, this is the easy part. It's not easy at all, but this is the slower part, I suppose. But once everything's up and running, it's going to be the maintaining of all of these different areas of the estate. So it'll be very easy to notice if one bit's kind of being left behind. Whereas at the moment, the actual maintaining of the areas is manageable right now. But I think once, as I said, once everything else has been complete, it's going to be a whole lot of plate spinning for sure.
Is it like just like a Monday through Friday, or do you work?
Yeah, it's Monday to Friday. It's pretty flexible. I mean, the people I work for are very good when it comes to that, because they know that in the summer I'm going to be working longer hours, and sometimes in the winter the weather's just not going to be on my side. So some of the days will be shorter, and some of the days will be longer. So it's very flexible. If I want a Friday off, then I can work the Saturday after or before, as long as I'm around for kind of the important things, when there's site meetings and things like that, and everything's kind of going well. Then, but I'm here Monday to Friday. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. As long as everything is looking good, right, and you're doing what you need to get done, and then also, like you said, working outside, the weather has a big part to do with with that in our schedule sometimes, and it can kind of change things. So I understand that. That makes sense. That's great that you have so much flexibility, though. It sounds like they're great to work for.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so I was going to ask you, so you're working kind of the working seasons, I guess it must be quite difficult in the summer months. Like, how does that look for you? How does that work for you?
My schedule is about the same year round, but I would say what's different in the summer is obviously it's really, really warm. So whenever I am doing like a new install, I'm being extra mindful of that and making sure that everything's getting enough water. There's an increase in like pest and disease pressure, humidity being so high too with the disease and everything like that. Yeah, with it being a year-round growing season, nothing really changes as far as like throughout 365 days. I would say about half the week I'm out in the field, half the week I'm in front of my desk.
Okay.
That's kind of how.
Are you able to? So on the warmest day, I suppose it's every day is warm, right? But for example, are you able to, or do you have the flexibility to do kind of indoor installations on the days where it's hottest? Or I guess there are, like I say, every day is hot, so it's just managing around that.
Oh, okay, I see. So I don't do any residential. I'm commercial only, so it's not like I'm waking up someone at 6 a.m. In their backyard. So that's how I try to do it, is anything that requires me being outside. I mean, this is probably going to sound silly, but sometimes I'm there as early as like 5 a.m. But definitely by 6 a.m. And then I'm out. Each job is different in how long I'll be there, but I'm out by 11 a.m., noon. So that's kind of how I try to do it. And then I do all my indoor stuff or my light stuff during the hottest parts of the day. And then I have some clients though, where like that are offices, and you can't disrupt, them while they're working. So I'm there towards the later part of the day or on the weekend. So it's really a weird mix of early mornings, late night, and then some
I guess
days
you just have to
kind
manage it.
Yeah. But I love the variety. I'm someone that likes kind of things being a little bit different every day. But yeah, it really works for me. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. And then
Thanks.
big sun hat, long sleeves, and
The whole attire.
I cover up for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose you have to, really, don't you? Wow. Okay, it sounds slightly different to here. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure. So that actually is a great segue into, I was kind of curious about, your take on the similarities and differences between, British gardening and American gardening. I think a lot of us have this, certain idea of what we, envision. I think that there is this idea that you guys are you're so progressive in your gardening, and that you have like a true connection to the outdoor space. It seems like most folks do, but that also is me romanticizing something and probably being a little, naive.
I mean, I haven't done a huge amount of kind of gardening within the US. I mean, it's such a large space, right? So I guess everywhere is different. But yeah, one thing that I had noticed kind of going to Florida or other places that I've been to in America and coming back, and it's something I only noticed recently, actually, since when kind of speaking to you and my friend that come to visit, that she was, like, quite surprised by how everyone, even if they have just a small plot or their front garden, a lot of people have front gardens in the UK, which apparently isn't a huge thing. So I've been told, or so I've seen. It's just kind of yard space, right?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't want to kind of step out of line, but yeah, it's kind of what I saw. But yeah, it is true, especially in the countryside. And even my parents that don't live in the countryside, they have a front garden, and I think it would be fair to say that people do like having green spaces around their house and flowers, and they do what they can, even if it's a couple of pots. Yeah, that's just one thing that I noticed.
Yeah, I do think over here it's more of like, if you're going to garden, you don't really show that on the street. That's something that you do privately, behind your house. So whereas I think but I think it's also the way that you guys, you have so much, so many old homes and buildings and the architecture, but I think it adds a lot of character having the garden in the front, especially. I
mean, when I visited Florida in February and in April, and if someone asked me what my job was, I'd say gardener, and it'd be like not strange to them, but like, is it right? Is like a landscaper more of a used term than gardener? Or?
Oh, 100%. I think it's actually really interesting that you brought that up. I think that down here or over here, it's just, you have a landscaper. You have someone that comes and prunes, cuts your lawn, and mows, but blows and goes. That's what we kind of call it. And you don't pay someone to, be meticulous and, that have that eye for detail and really maintain a garden. So that, not that people don't, not that that's not a thing here, but it's just had a hard time, I think, at the beginning, kind of trying to explain what I do. Like, it was like a foreign thing to a lot of people. So I understand that. Yeah, I'm sure gardener's a lot more common over there.
Yeah, so we do have landscapers too, but I think if you use the term landscaper, they're more doing kind of laying, I guess, like patios or kind of hard surfaces. Yeah, hardscape, exactly. Like landscaper, I suppose, or you have hard landscaper and you have soft landscaper. Which soft landscaping is just kind of maintenance of plants, just like a gardener, I suppose. But yeah, gardener's a very used term here. Yeah, found out visiting that it wasn't so much a used term, so I had to kind of explain more. Yeah, but no, it's very interesting.
I am curious, the kitchen garden. So you said that's when you guys have a woman that's coming every Wednesday now, and she's helping with the kitchen garden.
That's right.
Okay. So that's really neat. So I'm assuming you focus more like on the ornamental, and then, she's kind of more of like a edible gardener.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's good because she knows a lot about that, and
absolutely,
it's been a good collaboration. It's quite a big area. It's about 30 meters by 15 meters. I had to start it from scratch. The soil's really poor down there, because when they're building the cottages, it is almost like a building site. So there's a lot of kind of rubble, and it's just very compacted. It's not great. So we're kind of trying to improve the soil quality, and there's going to be an orchard there too.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so nice.
There's a lot planned.
Wouldn't mind hearing a little bit about like what you guys are growing, because once again, like our food that we grow down here, I mean, it depends. If you want to grow like the typical, I guess, North American fruits, vegetables. I mean, our
Right.
growing season is the fall and winter for that because it's not as hot. But year round, if you can grow all sorts of wild stuff, it's just a lot of like tropical and native vegetables that you don't see in a supermarket. So anyway, I'm just kind of curious about what you guys grow.
We've been trying to start to create a harvest list that I can hand to my boss, basically. So when she visits, so we can kind of present her with a sheet to say what's available to be harvested now and what, like, kind of the time of year. So I have it here. So yeah, we've got, I think the plan is we've got beetroots, broad beans, runner beans, French beans, dwarf beans, peas, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, chicory, celeriac, courgettes, cucumbers, fennel, kale, leeks, onions, parsnips, squash, radish, pumpkins, spinach, tomatoes, potatoes, garlic, onions, broccoli, a bunch of kind of different salads, pak choy. I think you guys call it bok choy though.
Yeah, I typically heard it's bok choy, but
there's pak choy here.
That's funny.
But yeah, and I'm really into growing chilies as well. It's like one of my favorite things to grow.
Do you eat a lot of spicy food?
That's the funny thing. Not really. I just one of the things that I'm most interested in. There's just so many different varieties and shapes and sizes, and different kind of heat levels. I made a chili jam a few Christmases ago, which is really tasty.
Ooh,
it's really good with kind of cheese and crackers and things like that.
Well, like you said, there's so many different levels of heat that it doesn't. Yeah, you don't have to necessarily.
You can buy them now that kind of, or grow them that have the flavor of the spiciest ones you can buy, but have no spice. So you can, it's kind of a good balance. Well, good variety, good choice.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, you guys are growing quite a lot.
Good amount.
Yeah. And you started that in May, you said? And you're growing
I think it is around May. Yeah,
okay.
So we started quite late. Maybe even June by the time we got stuff in. It was late, but we've had quite a warm, well, it's a very warm summer, so quite a good success rate on a lot of things. It's been getting a bit chilly overnight at the moment. Early last week, I think it got down to like 37, so that was a bit of a shock. But it's cold mornings and evenings, but the afternoons are actually quite pleasant. Yeah, but I think some of the crops down there take a bit of damage from the cold weather. So we fleeced a few of them, put a few fleeces over. Yeah, we got a herb garden too as well. So we have lots of different herbs. Which is
probably where the herbs came from that are in your tea.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, completely right. Yeah. It's very handy kind of going there and going to get some food for dinner, you know.
And gratifying. I mean, knowing that like you're growing this stuff or helping to grow it, I mean, and then being able to just
it's
absolutely.
Tasty. It's good stuff.
For sure. What types of fruit trees do you guys currently have?
Apples. I don't think we have any pears. Yeah, mainly apple. There's a few different varieties. We've got cooking apples, and I can tell you the exact variety because they've been here for a very long time. I think we have a cider apple as well. Yeah, the plan is to order in more. I think next week we're going to order some fruit bushes, blackberries and raspberries, and maybe some blueberries, things like that, add to the garden. I think that's where we're going to place or plant where the cover crop is at the moment. So
the nice thing about the fruit trees and the fruit bushes is they don't, once you get them going, I mean, they're going to provide for years and years and years to come, unlike the vegetable garden, which you're kind of always, tending to. And
exactly. And you're kind of really having to replace the kind of annual plants, but obviously the fruit bushes they'll just be there. I guess pruning when necessary, but other than that, it's a lot less maintenance for sure.
My mom's boyfriend is from Wales.
Oh, no way. Do you know whereabouts in Wales?
I don't. He's older and very quiet, and we don't get a lot of words. But he is from Wales, and and he loves his whiskey. I can tell you that.
That's the thing in the UK and the islands, like big drinkers.
But he always talks about the raspberries. Like I guess like there were tons of raspberry bushes and stuff like that, and he was always like, "Show me photos and stuff." But
interesting. Yeah.
But
it's a small world, isn't it? Really, it's like I feel like everyone kind of knows. Not everyone, but like has connections, like not too far away.
For sure. A lot of the photos that you have been sharing are all of like the vegetables and everything that you guys have been growing this season, and it was way more than I thought, and I was just like so amazed at everything and the variety. I guess I got my mind going, and I was just curious if the owners of the estate like come and visit really frequently, and are they like taking some of this food home, or is it really kind of just you guys testing it out? Because I know it is the first go around at it, and you guys get to just enjoy the harvest yourselves, or
so they've been visiting more and more. They visit more in the summertime. Obviously the weather's nice, and so yeah, no, at the moment there's an abundance of food, so kind of send them back to their other house, and with kind of like not a hamper, but just like you guys call hamper something else, so it's not a hamper, but like just a box of food. So they tend to, when they're here, eat as much or whatever they want from the kitchen garden, but then they always take a load of food back to have at their place as well. So a lot of it's used, to be honest, but like you say, it is a test also, so it's a nice kind of opportunity to try different varieties out, to see which performs the best, and see what everyone thinks of all of the different types. So if there's a particular type of tomato that isn't so loved or great or hasn't done so well, then this kind of given us a good opportunity to try some other ones as well. There's always an abundance of food. Well, even especially just starting out, kind of everything hasn't been so successful, but even with that, there's still quite a lot of produce to use. So it's only going to get more and more.
That's cool. So they just bring a box, or you mail it to them or deliver it to them, and then
so just a box. We'll go pick some stuff before they leave. Get a good kind of collection together. A lot of apples recently as well. It's been a very good season for apples. So lots of apples, and they really like cooking. So they kind of use all the ingredients and all the produce and kind of do their own thing with it. So
it's a good opportunity to become creative. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm visiting them this weekend, so I've got a few pumpkins and kind of lots of tomatoes and things like that.
Are you guys starting a lot of it as just like young starts, or did you grow anything from seed?
So this season there's a combination of both, just where we started so late. So to be fair, a lot of them have been by seed.
Cool.
I think that's the way we plan on going forward. We bought all of the equipment and kind of all the right kind of growing medium and things like that. So I think that's the plan going forward. Some of the tomatoes and courgettes that went in a little later, we bought them as kind of starts, like plug plants.
Yeah.
So they're kind of already at a level. Not a huge amount of them really. A lot of them have been, I'd say probably 80% has been by seed.
That's cool.
So then for the tomatoes that we've got, we've kind of saved the seeds from those as well. So it was quite fun. We did a taste test of tomatoes and figured out which ones we like the most. So then we saved the seeds from those tomatoes so that we can grow them again next season. So it's like a really nice way of doing it. Also, the same with chilies too. So we're going to kind of figure out the best varieties. It's all just going to be a case of like filtering out ones that haven't done so well or don't taste so great, and kind of getting the best of everything, really. That's the idea anyway.
And you can kind of start your own, like, I guess, like, I don't know if you would really be starting your own genetics, but like, picking like the best seeds
exactly.
from like and then
pretty much. Well, obviously not like crossbreeding stuff, but like picking the best of what everyone likes, which is really good.
I love seed starting. Like I'm always like, trying to do something, can't always necessarily do it with my, clients and type of plants that we're, growing and stuff, but at home, it's like, I always have something going. So it's fun.
Cutting on the windowsill and kind of like seed starting, and
there's so much satisfaction from like growing it yourself. It's really cool.
No, definitely.
Awesome. Curious about, your living on site, so you don't necessarily have like the whole estate is kind of your garden. But what is like your favorite, gardening style, or maybe you had your own personal garden in the past, and what was that like?
I think it's definitely been changing. I think it does change from time to time. Growing up, I used to go on vacation with my parents a good amount. We used to go to Greece a good amount. So I was always quite interested in the Mediterranean style. I've always been quite fascinated by that. I think it's just the plants that thrive in the hot condition. So always been very interested in that, which is really quite interesting and cool to see the blend of cottage and Mediterranean drought tolerant plants here on the estate. Interested in that, and more so interested in the cottage style, and that's very typical of maybe that's what everyone kind of envisions in the English countryside.
I would say so. At least I do.
It is really pretty. It is really cool.
Yeah.
But we also have a gravel and rock garden here too. I mean, we're going to have quite a lot of different styles here, which is good. But yeah, I think Mediterranean, and I like subtropical too. I mean, down in Cornwall, further south of the UK. Completely different climate, microclimate down there. Ability to grow a lot of subtropical plants. They don't get as many frosts or as harsh conditions as we do up a bit further north. So that's always been quite interesting. They've got some quite amazing gardens that you can go and visit.
That just got me thinking about the temperate rainforests that you all have, or I guess from what I understand, you don't have a ton of it, but I don't know if, it's like development and things like that. Maybe that some of them have been like destroyed or how that worked. But I was really interested to learn, kind of about your rare and unique like temperate rainforests, and just talking about like all the different, microclimates and things like that. And
I mean, to be completely honest with you, I don't know a huge amount about them. But I know that Cornwall and Devon, which is kind of neighbouring counties, they do have them. Something that I've been researching since we kind of spoke about it before. But I know it's kind of influenced by the Gulf Stream. So there's kind of, as you said, a microclimate. Which doesn't suffer from kind of frost damage. Well, it doesn't get frost very, very often compared to the rest of the country. So it's definitely a bit of a gem of a spot.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, I don't know a ton about it either, but they sound
something
really
to look into though.
Yeah, absolutely. But talking about the Mediterranean plants and just warm climate plants too, plants that can really thrive in those types of, unique, dry, hot conditions. It really is interesting. For the longest time, I had a hate-love relationship with Florida, and through gardening, my appreciation has, increased tremendously. Very different than Mediterranean, but same thing, just plants that have the ability, plants I should say, that are not invasive exotics, but plants that have the ability to just thrive and adapt, in those unique conditions is really incredible. Lavender, out, like I'm just like, how?
We have a lot of lavender. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Once it flowers, you can kind of cut it back and then try and get it to flower again in the season. And then so I actually cut a load of the old flower heads and gave it to my boss, and she's kind of ground them up and used them as like a little scented bowl, which is
cool.
Quite cool.
Yeah.
I mean, so many cool things you can do with the plants around here. Well, and I imagine where you are as well.
For some reason, the first one that jumped out to me is agave, which I don't even know if we have any native agave down here, but either way, there's a lot of it.
I've actually got two here, but they're in pots. So they survive the winters though. They're pretty good. I have a agave americano. That's the kind of the variegated, right? It's like the green and white or green and yellowy. Blue agave is the main one, isn't it? I think that's where you kind of tequila is made from the root ball, right?
I actually don't know the exact agave that tequila is made from, but absolutely, tequila is made from agave. And bats are actually a really big pollinator of agave, which is really, really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah, I think I did know that actually. Yeah, no, that's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. They don't get enough respect.
They don't. No, definitely not.
I was interested in learning about kind of what, you listen to or, read. Even though I'm nowhere near you, I listen to a lot of, like the British gardening, podcasts and things like that, just for fun. I enjoy the conversation. I'm not growing delphiniums or foxgloves or anything like that over here, but you guys have a lot of it's honestly partially why I started my podcast, because I felt like there wasn't everything that I came across that I enjoyed was British, which is lovely, but there wasn't a lot kind of tailored to me,
isn't it? That's
I'm sorry?
That's a good gap. It's very unique for you to have a podcast and kind of educate or inform or discuss these ideas with people that might not necessarily have, like you say, access to what you're doing. So
Thank you. And
Very
I definitely
cool.
didn't want to make it about my podcast in that moment. I guess I was just saying that whenever I would search for stuff, it was all British, which
Yeah.
not to say that we don't have a lot of people doing wonderful things here. But yeah, I was just kind of curious about if there was anyone that you really like or would recommend.
It's a bit kind of underwhelming, but to be honest, no. I honestly don't listen to too many podcasts from around here. I perhaps should do, but I think I'm quite interested in different plants. For example, your podcast, it's different to me, very new and fresh. At the moment, I'm a bit more interested in kind of the other side of horticulture that I haven't really heard much about before. It seems like there's more room for growth there and potential there. So yeah, no, I can't really suggest any. You definitely know more than I do.
I mean, you're day in and day out working with these plants, so I understand not necessarily having an interest to learn more about.
I mean, occasionally I will. If there's like a specific area that I think it has to be a specific area that I'm really interested or really sparks my interest, then I will look at that, or kind of videos on YouTube or something like that. But I think just general day to day, I obviously do my own research. But then, when it comes to listening to things, it's nice to kind of switch off and just listen to music or just something completely unrelated.
I understand. Lately, I'm listening to like a lot of like weird like ghost stories and true crime.
It's a bit different, isn't it?
Or when you have the really early mornings doing maintenance, I've learned that you don't want to listen about ghosts and UFOs because it kind of can wig you out.
Spooky. Okay, that is maybe a bit too much then.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it gets to that level, it's a bit worrying. But no, I was really interested in the episode of the goth garden that you had, of that kind of gothic garden with the darker plants. Because in my head, when you kind of started talking about all of these things that would make a good gothic garden, I kind of automatically in my head knew what I would plant, but only based on the knowledge of the plants here. So then, like, hearing all of these new plants that you're suggesting that I haven't heard of before is all quite interesting. So that really sparked my interest, if I'm totally honest. I was like, oh, well, I have this idea in my head of what I could do here, but like, how would it look using kind of the plants that you have kind of at your disposal there? So yeah, that was a really interesting podcast to me. I mean, they're all interesting, but that's the one that stood out mostly because I was doing a bit extra private work for another client just down the road, so I was kind of just zoned out doing my thing, but listening to this the gothic gardens. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Completely understand. And it's like the variety of listening to, something different and then trying to think about the ways that it would like maybe like translate over to, your space. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're saying as well, it's kind of like substitutes, like instead of using, I can't remember exactly what it was, but poppies, you could use this plant. It's like not exactly the same, but it's similar characteristics and works well here or where you are. Or like a wildflower meadow using plants that you're available to you.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. I'm such a big fan. Yeah. We have a
Yeah.
lot of people that move here from up north. And when I say up north, like New York, and they get really hung up on, certain plants that just don't do well here. So I think it's so fascinating to take that like as a challenge to recreate, a garden that, is, similar, but different.
Sometimes people just don't understand like, oh, this works here, so it should work here. Like, but in reality, it's completely different,
Yeah. And I don't, I mean, if you're not doing this, like it's, that's why you hire someone, right? So I definitely don't hold that like against them or anything like that, but it is interesting.
No, it's just, definitely quite fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Roses are a big one, because everybody, they grew up with them, or like my grandmother, always had them. And so then they want to recreate that down here. But I've been testing that out a little bit. And there's actually like a rose, like farm or a nursery near me, and which is surprising because they can be quite a struggle down here, but it's really inspired me and kind of made me rethink, roses in our climate, but it's still not something that I would just, recommend.
Are there kind of varieties that do work?
Yes. Yeah. So there are varieties now that have been bred to have a higher tolerance to the humidity, like the heat as well. Yeah. And so they have like less of the fungal issues and bacterial issues and things like that. So it's impressive. I mean, I went out to this nursery. They're not far from me. And I think I went during the summer. It's been a couple of years, but they had rows and rows of roses. And I could not believe it. But I was like, they're doing it. I mean,
Wow.
I'm seeing this, you know?
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
House actually just around the corner from me, and it's called Rose Cottage. It's quite incredible, really. It's kind of just like these really deep kind of rouge roses and white. And it's quite amazing. It's very popular. They require maintenance still, of course, like kind of fungal diseases and all these other issues. But yeah, they work well as long as you kind of keep them maintained and pruned. I mean, we prune them obviously in kind of the depths of the winter when they're dormant, just for the well-being of the rose. But yeah, no, there's a lot of them around. Definitely, there's quite a few at the cottage here.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. I was curious, so because I probably won't know a lot of the plants that you talk about, but you know, roses are obviously, you know, very you know, popular there. Are there any other, you know, big ones that we might be familiar with that you're growing or that you like?
Yeah. So we have ferns.
Okay,
They do pretty well.
that
In the
makes
winter,
sense.
they die back, but then you cut them and they kind of replenish. What else do we have? Salvias.
Okay,
With lots of varieties of salvias here. They do well. They're very kind of reliable. Rosemary. We have lots of rosemary. We kind of use that as we have a creeping rosemary and like an upright rosemary. That isn't in the herb garden. This is just kind of planting around the cottages. And then we have. I'm trying to think what you might have. We have mahonias. Do you have mahonias? Do you know what they are?
I'm not familiar with mahonias, but not
No?
to say that they're not. Someone else
I
might.
think they're winter flowering, so perhaps maybe it might have been a bit of a silly suggestion. But yeah, they flower in the winter. They got kind of like stalk, like yellow stalk flowers above. Some of them are spiky and some of them aren't.
I love you using the rosemary like as an ornamental gardening
it's really
landscape because
popular.
it's so great for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning, I think, so there's 2 terrace walls that kind of on the terrace adjoined to the main house there, and we're planning on doing some kind of creeping rosemary that we can kind of trail down the terrace walls. So it's quite a popular choice for ornamental, and obviously, yeah, when they flower, they got really nice kind of purpley or bluey purple flowers. So you have the 2 in 1. You can use it to cook with, and it looks great.
When I very first started, it was like purely as aesthetic. I think I was just more focused on that, and now it's like there has to be layers. It has to, you know, have more value than that. You know, whether it's a culinary aspect or providing, you know, wildlife habitat.
I mean, if it's great, it's not always possible, of course, but if you're able to kind of marry it up and have these plants that provide multiple things, and it's even better. So
absolutely,
especially kind of like pollinating plants and things like that, or kind of plants that attract pollinators. It's always helpful. Which is the wildflower meadow that we've got too, which is quite an abundance of wildlife through there. So
that's so nice.
Yeah, it's very successful. It's seeded late spring last year, I believe. Yeah, late spring, early summer. Not the best time to do it, but it worked.
How do you feel about, you know, I guess alternative ground covers instead of sod?
What do you mean by sod?
Oh, I'm sorry. Grass, turf, like your traditional lawn. You know, like they're
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things you can use as ground cover. I mean, for example, in our woodland area, we have, I don't know if you're familiar with the plant cherry laurel, an invasive species. So that's a lot of what I've been removing. But if you cut it kind of down right to the floor, you can almost use it as a ground cover that way and just keep maintaining it at that ground level. So it's kind of suppresses everything else.
Oh, that's so interesting.
That's kind of a way of using what's already there without having to dig it up and go through the whole process of that. So you can use that. And I know a lot of people use ivy as well. Popular opinion, sometimes not so popular. But if it's maintained and it works, then it's a great kind of ground cover. And it kind of holds, if you're kind of on sloped areas as well, it holds the ground together. Types you can get for shady areas or for sunnier areas.
I just think that whole like movement is really interesting, and I know over here, you know, we spend a lot of money to keep our lawns looking good.
Yeah, I mean, I really do understand the appeal to having a good looking lawn, and
absolutely,
like everything's tidy. It is a lot of work, as we mentioned earlier, and working as a greenkeeper as well, and things like that. Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it can be expensive too. And obviously, a good looking lawn's really good. You know, it's a cool thing to have. It just
Yeah.
requires a lot of work.
I try not to get too. I feel like there are people that can be very extreme when it comes to certain ideas or
Yeah.
but I really try to, and it sounds like you're the same, just try to understand that everybody has a different goal that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So we have in the UK, I don't know if you guys have it, but it's called No Mo May.
Oh yeah,
So
very
do you
familiar.
have that too? Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
So you kind of let it go free. But I guess there'd be some people that some people like that here hate the idea of it. Like they want their lawn and that's what they want. So it can look a little messy.
But yeah. Maybe start with the backyard if you don't.
Yeah, and you can cut pathways through it. That's what I do kind of at the property I'm living at. I have my own garden that's onto the back of the house. So there's that maintenance. Because I have so much other things to do, I've just mown pathways through the lawn part of the garden, and it looks really good, especially when it's slightly windy. You can see it kind of flowing through the meadow there.
Oh, yeah, that sounds beautiful.
It's a lot less work too.
But you talking about your wildflower garden? One year, I'm always just redoing things in the landscape beds that I do have at home. But I started quite a few natives from seed and just created a few wildflower patches in my own landscape, and unbelievable how well they did. And how little maintenance they needed and how much beauty they brought. But
I mean, and they're great. I mean, it covers a large area. It looks good. The maintenance isn't too bad. I mean, it's cut twice or 3 times a year.
Okay.
I guess the biggest kind of maintenance, or the most time-consuming part, is collecting all of the debris. When you mow it, you want to collect it all so that it doesn't kind of break down and fertilize the land again, because wildflowers prefer poor quality soil. You're removing all of that debris so it doesn't break down, and that's the more time-consuming part. But I mean, it's great. It's lasted multiple kind of months. It's kind of gone through the different plants as the seasons progressed. Kind of going back onto the conversation we had earlier about British or people from the UK being more progressive and wanting greener spaces in any area that they can get, whether it be a front garden or like something small, potted plants, and then noticing that wasn't so popular or a big thing in America or the places I visited. It's like these little things you could do just to add a little bit more of character or add more green space to the areas that are kind of been left. You can actually like kind of beautify this small area like for low maintenance. Like you don't have to spend a ton of money.
Absolutely. I love that. And sort of like, I'm really passionate about, I mean, I guess I call them pocket gardens, but just, taking a small space. And I mean, just there's so much opportunity to transform even the tiniest of space. And frankly, in my opinion, with a smaller space, it gives you the ability to be more creative and add more detail without it being overwhelming.
Exactly. Sometimes like kind of keeping it simple is just the best way, because then it's not super expensive, and it'd just be really, I think it'd be really cool to just show people the potential of the areas, as opposed to just leaving it bare.
Absolutely.
Even if it's like a couple of small trees or a couple of climbers that you can be maintained, and just to kind of add a bit more depth and character to the area.
I personally think we need more gardeners like that over here. I'm curious how it works at the estate as far as like sourcing plants, and then do they give you like a budget, or how does that work?
That's a good question. So I have got a company card. So I get topped up on that. But that's usually for supplies and small purchases. But so for the larger planting, so for example, we planted a woodland recently and some larger specimen trees too. So the landscape architect would decide and then go through the client. We have a project manager too who kind of sees all of this through, right? So they'll get a budget and they'll work within that budget for the landscaping package. So then I'll put an order in. Actually, I actually do need to do that, I think, tomorrow. There's some fencing that's gone up on the eastern boundary, so I need to find some native species to help kind of cover that. So I'm going to call them tomorrow, and there'll be like a hedgerow mix that I can buy. So it'll be a mix of native species. You have like hawthorn and blackthorn and all of these kind of native species, which will help kind of screen the new fence there. So it's something I usually kind of manage and liaise with these companies. And then for the larger specimen trees, We've had some quite nice trees recently, so we'll put an order in, and there'll be a list of say 20 trees that are going to be very ornamental, looking good, to be on show. So then there's a local place, well, it's about 45 minutes from here, who are a tree nursery. So I'll go and visit them, and then I'll have a list of the plants that we want, and then they'll give me like red ribbon, and I'll go and select like the best
Just
trees.
tag them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'll tag the trees that we want, and then they'll load them up and deliver them.
Okay.
It's quite a fun part of the job, actually, is kind of going out to different locations and kind of selecting or being selective as to what we want. But also, what I didn't mention was like when I first moved here, there was no machinery, there's nothing. So I had to go and test drive a tractor and find what the most suitable tractor would be for the land and the most suitable mower.
Really?
So we have a rider mower, pedestrian mower, everything basically. All of the machinery I had to go and kind of research, test drive, and kind of put a list together and say, look, this is what we need. Like, can we get it? Kind of thing. So, but soon they're kind of constructing a tractor barn, because at the moment everything's kind of stored. There's like a carport, and in my garage here. But they're building a tractor barn soon. So I'm being quite a big part of designing and kind of measuring out like the sizes and the layout of the tractor barn. We have a trailer too. It's maneuverable. We're going to make compost bins, so we have a bucket so we can compost and things like that. We've got a little buggy as well, a little 4x4 Kubota, which is very handy.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, getting around.
Yeah, especially for jobs that are further away on the estate, when I need to take chainsaws and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can imagine covering such a wide, expansive of space that you would need that. That's interesting. Yeah. Sounds like as soon as you got there, you just kind of jumped right into it. And a lot of it was you kind of bootstrapping up and figuring it out.
It was definitely a change from the pace of London. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden having to source all of this equipment and figuring out what the plans were, and just adapting in a timely manner, really.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we want to do. Can we make it work?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. It was definitely a shock. Kind of having a meeting here with the owners and my boss. Kind of the first night. It was actually on the 31st. It was Halloween. I stayed over for the first night in this big house.
I could see that being a little, the first night anywhere, especially if you're alone, a little unnerving.
Especially in this kind of large manor house. So it's
very cool. So when you were sending me all of those like just gorgeous photos, and it just kind of really helped me get like a better idea of like what the estate looked like and everything like that. Yeah. I know like when I'm like working with like a client, I have like some clients that like literally every single plant like has to get approved, like they have a very like they're very firm on like kind of the aesthetic that they're going for. And then I have others that are just like, go buck wild. We don't care, we trust you. So I'm kind of curious, like, what is it like, there with like, do you get to, select a lot of the flowers and stuff, or do they have a lot of input when it comes to that? How does that work?
So I work with a landscape architect. We work quite closely with that. So originally she created the design of the overall plan, and a lot of it is trial and error. I think that we kind of have the benefit of being able to try things because it's such a new space. We're able to try these new things, and if they don't necessarily work, then we'll replace them. So it's kind of a bit of survival of the fittest in a way, because it's like I say, it's a new area that we haven't worked in before. So some things do really well down here and other things don't. So for example, we have like box plant, like a box that you can shape and do topiary with, which suffers a lot in the city of box blight, which is a disease, and a lot of caterpillars as well love like this called the box caterpillar. But down here, there's just not a thing. Touch wood, like I haven't seen anything here. So since moving here, I was expecting to have to kind of keep an eye out or like treat for these things, but it's just non-existent here, which is really good because there are kind of alternate plants that we can use. But going back to a question, yes, we do have a fair amount of free range. Like the client obviously inputs too. They know what they like and they know what they dislike when it comes to colors and things like that. But I think it's all just a bit of bit of trial and error, see what works, see what looks good, and then quarterly I'll be taking pictures of the beds just to see where the gaps are, where things haven't done so well, or just kind of like a constant improvement. It's not a case of kind of each year, but I think we're really aiming for nothing too crazy, not like every couple of weeks, but every quarter, just kind of editing borders and beds and seeing how we can improve really. And it's also interesting because one of the clients likes a bit more of like a more wild kind of not unkept, but kind of more natural looking. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other one sometimes likes a bit more formal, clean, tidy look. So it's kind of a balance of merging those two together. So for example, when we had the wildflower meadow, it looked amazing. We really liked it, but it was a case of like, is it looking a little bit kind of untidy now? Fine line of like working with them to see, and I've worked for them for a number of years now. So when I was in London as well, obviously very different space, but kind of working with them for a little while, you kind of pick up these things and know what they like and dislike. Kind of the color palettes that they like the most. But when it comes to, for example, cut flowers and things like that, we've been ordering brochures from local nurseries and things like that to see what colors and styles, sort of like dahlias. So, we could plant this and see how this turns out next year and things like that. So that, we're obviously very open. We all just work as a team, really. It's no one really making decisions by themselves. It's like the landscape architect has the general knowledge and like by the book kind of ideas and things, but then I have the site knowledge of things that might not do so great down here. So it's kind of like finding a balance between those two things to create something that works.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a little bit more like relaxed, and it's kind of like, let's kind of see how this does this season or this quarter, and then we can make modifications and edits kind of based off of that. So that makes sense. Also, you talk about like the site conditions and everything like that, and you don't really know, like I know like I'll have plants that I'm like, oh, like these will definitely perform, and then you put them somewhere else and like they're just like not doing well, or vice versa. So I understand with it being like a new space, you kind of have to like test the waters, even if it is something that you're really familiar with, you just don't know.
So for example, we have some salvias that are doing really well, and they're kind of self-seeded into beds that we haven't really had them in before, but they're doing also well in those beds. So, and then there's also some plants that haven't done so well, so it's almost like a kind of natural kind of like, we'll just kind of divide these and plant some of these here. So it's sometimes as easy as that, but not always.
Yeah.
It'd be great if that worked all the time, but
sure.
You know how it is.
Are you doing like one like big kind of overhaul of these beds like in the spring and then just kind of touching up throughout?
Yeah, so in the spring, autumn and springs are like the perfect opportunity to plant new plants, just because the ground's a lot more kind of moist and water retaining. So it's just a better way of doing it then. You can do it in summer, but it's a little more risky. And obviously the spring is probably one of the busiest times.
I'm assuming you're planning like a lot of like your annuals, like your big pops of color then, and then
Yeah, I mean I think there aren't many annuals at all that we have. They're mostly perennials. So we'll cut them back like the salvias. We'll cut them back and they'll come back again, which is great.
Yeah. I love salvias. They're like one of my favorite.
Good.
Yeah.
There's so many different varieties as well.
So many heights and just there's colors. Yeah.
And then so at the moment recently I've been going through our bulbs list because we get the bulbs in kind of around November, December. Obviously for flowering in the whole of spring into the summer as well. So it's like a nice kind of when things die back for the winter, in the spring you're cutting things back just before the spring, so everything does look a little bare. So there's a good like time to mulch around if that's what you do. We haven't done that here yet, but a good time to mulch around, kind of to make it look all tidy, and then you have like the bulbs emerging, which is nice. You have daffodils and tulips and things like that. So it's like another pop of color that kind of like leads into the spring. So that's really good. Yeah. And then obviously I have lawn care on top of that as well. So that's a whole different
tulips and daffodils. I mean, we have bulbs down here, but I don't think our bulbs are like as striking as some of like the
really?
I think yeah.
What would be your go-to, like what's your go-to bulb? Like if the client says to you, I would like some bulbs, what would you suggest or recommend?
Have you heard of caladiums?
I haven't.
Okay. I'll send you a photo, or you can just Google it right now. So they're not a flower, it's like a foliage plant.
And okay. They're
Yeah.
familiar. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
So that's a really popular bulb, especially here in Florida. We have like a caladium festival in the summer. So yeah, those are one of my go-tos. And then we have some so our equivalent, I would like to say, like a daffodil would be the rain lily. So they have these darling small little flowers, grass-like foliage.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
And they come in
see.
different
Yeah.
colors.
They're kind of
Yeah.
quite upright, aren't they? But yeah, you can see why they're lilies as well. So yeah,
So,
we have. Have you heard of camasias as well? They're kind of
um,
huge bulbs. Well, I know this is a podcast, but
okay.
they're about that big.
The size of your fist, I would say, or kind
A
of
little,
maybe
a little smaller.
Okay.
Yeah, a bit smaller.
Okay.
But they're really impactful as well. Kind of tall spikes of flowers. You can get them in white and blue.
Oh, cool.
They're really cool. Yeah, but they're kind of later flowering. It's what kind of leads nicely into the summer. It's like a bit of a stopgap between not much and kind of I mean, you have daffodils and tulips and camasias, and we have lots. Alliums are good as well.
The onion or garlic? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's onion, right? I think it's onion family.
Well, you have wild garlic, which is a type of allium.
Okay.
Yeah. So allium. Cool. So you can get loads of different. Well, there's different styles of it, but they're kind of big.
The round purple.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but you can get huge ones, and you can get like really sporadic looking, just crazy looking ones. There's quite a few different types. They're always a good kind of safe bet as well.
Cool, that's fun.
It's good because they'll flower at different times, so it gives you quite a range.
Sometimes, like, just because once again, working solo, it's like I just always wonder, like, what are other people doing?
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
I feel like, fortunately, I haven't dealt with a lot of situations where it's just like, everything's like failing and you're, really having a, tear a bunch of stuff out at once, but, things do happen. And so I was just curious, like, whether it's, at the estate or even like at the botanical gardener or whatever, like your process is like when you are having a plant that's like declining. And obviously if it's like a little small annual plant versus like a mature tree, you're going to have a different process for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but just kind of curious and like, how you guys handle that, and maybe, you're probably pulling people in to help it, figure out what's going on and stuff too. But yeah.
Yeah. So in London, I definitely felt it as kind of pests and diseases were a lot more kind of like intense there. I think it's just obviously there's things are coming in from different locations and people are importing stuff and everything's so finely kind of very close together. So it's a lot easier for them to spread and things like that. So I think again, it depends on the client. Just talking about London, it depends on the client. Some people are very like, oh, we can save this, or like, oh, it's fine, don't worry too much about it. Is some people just understand that, or not understand it, but that's just their mindset. They're like, oh, it's a plant. This will happen sometimes. Like, it's not an issue. We can just wait it out and see if it improves. But then you'll have some people on the other end of the scale that I'm sure you could appreciate, just want it to look good, and they'll just say, "Oh, rip it out and put a new one in." So there's a client that we had in London that had shaped yew balls, and there's just like one spot where this yew ball just didn't like it, but they just kept kind of like, "Oh, just get another one and plant it," and then that would do the same thing. And we would suggest things that we could do differently or a different plant, but because it's kind of like the last yew ball in like a line.
Oh,
so
okay.
they just kept replacing it, and it just kept dying. But I mean, some people kind of have their mindset, right? But it's great to have the kind of the freedom and the ability to do that if you have the kind of the resources to be able to do that. But then, some people don't want to spend a fortune on something that's might not be so kind of major. But for here, as I mentioned, it's more obviously still kind of a learning curve for everyone. And the different environments and things like that. So thankfully at the moment nothing crazy has happened. Like we haven't had a mass kind of extinction of one plant. There's a couple of kind of topiary balls that we put in that haven't done well, and one of them died, or a couple of them have died. But luckily, I think the company sent us 2 extra ones. I don't know, I can't remember why. So I just kind of replaced them, and they've done a little better, but they're still not loving it there. So I think it's a case of looking to see what we can substitute that for, something that's like closely aligned as to what it looks like and kind of the texture it brings. But I think we're in a fortunate enough position to be able to kind of experiment in a way. So there are a few climbers that haven't done so well. They do so great in the summer, and when it starts to get a bit colder and kind of the weather gets a bit more kind of damp, they don't love it. A few diseases and things, but this is a good time of year starting to kind of collate what we have and what climbers have done well, and to kind of like replace them. And luckily enough in the position to be able to replace things if they don't make it. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a natural environment down here too. It's not so uptight kind of in London as a client.
Yeah.
Obviously, it still has to look good.
Absolutely.
But it's a case of kind of, we'll give this a bit longer to see.
Yeah.
Maybe that might change when the owners aren't here as much. It might change. But I think this is a good opportunity to kind of try all these things before they're here a lot more, so you can kind of figure out what's working, what isn't.
No, that makes sense. Sometimes I just don't. I'm like, I don't know why this isn't performing, and like, let's just kind of figure it out.
Sometimes it happens, right? Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, you've done everything you can, and it's just not happy,
and they're like, it just doesn't want to be here. So so just trying to get some. So that's, I guess, that's nice to hear that I'm not the only one. You don't have the answer. It's just, you just don't.
And some people understand that, and some people don't. Like, working for some people, they always expect me to know, why is this plant died? Well, if it's not obvious, like, have you walked in it? Like, but if they're like, it's kind of, sometimes it just doesn't work. Like, if you've kind of picked off all of the obvious things as to why it haven't survived, then sometimes it's just not meant to be, I guess.
Cool.
It's just hard to explain to people if they spent a fortune on it. It was just not meant to be. Sorry.
That's what I'm gonna start saying. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just not meant to be.
It's like a relationship, you date for a while. Sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. It's a really expensive relationship. I haven't spent a lot of time in England, but there are so many like different garden tours you can do out there, and Kew Gardens and the Chelsea Flower Show, which is more of like floral, but was curious about your opinion as a British gardener, on these things, and what recommendations you have for someone that might want to visit and see everything that England has to offer in regards to gardening.
I mean, you're definitely right. The Chelsea Flower Show is obviously more of kind of like a showcase as opposed to a serene garden walk. It's quite chaotic. I've been a couple of times. I'm actually lucky enough to kind of showcase there, once with college, and then the other time with the Botanical Gardener, and we kind of achieved 2 gold medals, or 1 gold medal in each of those, which is very cool, which I'm very happy about, and so very grateful I was able to be a part of that.
So sorry, I'm like, I feel like you just dropped a bomb on me. Like, were you not going to tell me this? That's incredible.
Well, I was hoping, what if we got to that bit?
Wow, that is incredible, Bailey. That's incredible.
It was a very good experience. Extremely stressful, but it was worth it. It was very worth it.
I think the podcast was called Plants Grow Here. He's actually Australian, but he had a gardener on who has created some displays for the Chelsea Flower Show. So he was talking about everything that like goes on, with that and everything. I mean, just I can't. So much respect. That's incredible.
Because we had to kind of ship everything, and we only had about a week to get it all in both times. The first time we were working with, I don't know if you have it in the States, but it's an organization called the Help for Heroes. So they help kind of like retired veterans with rehabilitation. So we kind of worked in collaboration with them to create a garden that would help represent how kind of horticulture is kind of therapeutic to them, and it's helped them move through these kind of difficult times. We created this garden which had 3 sections to it, and the first bit was a lot of kind of spiky plants, and there's no real kind of clear light at the end of the tunnel. So very confusing time of life. And then the middle section, there's vegetable patches and kind of adaptive tools that they could use to help kind of with the rehabilitation. And then the final part was there's a reflective pond, so they could kind of look back on the journey that they had created. So very interesting. We actually had, I think, maybe 5 or 6 of the veterans helping us with the build as well. So it's a very kind of inclusive experience.
Wow, that is really, really neat and so creative. And then to be able to work with some of the folks from Help for Heroes too, and make it a collaboration between the both of you is really beautiful. That's really nice.
It's a great experience, definitely.
Yeah.
Very eye-opening, and very grateful to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah. And like you were saying, this is something that I've always thought about. I guess our equivalent of the Chelsea Flower Show is the Philly Flower Show in Philadelphia. And Pennsylvania. And I have been to that, and not that I'm even trying to compare the two, but it is incredible to think about. I mean, this is all temporary, and this had to be moved in within a couple, like, it blows my mind. All the work.
It's just a field, or just a huge patch of green space, and they kind of, within a couple of weeks, you have all of these other companies that are shipping huge trees in for the space of a week or 2 weeks, and then after it's all gone, they reseed the whole kind of lawn, and it's like nothing ever happened. So very chaotic experience. I'd recommend it for sure, but if you want a kind of a quiet, serene walk, it's not the place to be. But it's good. It's very progressive, and you can see a lot of the new up and coming kind of trends, and some of them are a bit strange sometimes. They kind of decide this is a good idea one year, and then the next year it's like, oh, this isn't the greatest ideas. So it's always changing. And then Kew Garden, wonderful place. Been there quite a few times. It's a huge place. So a couple of days there, or just a day, just to wander around. You've got the Arboretum, and just a huge kind of range of things to do there. I mean, it's 500 acres of woodland as well. So it's quite a big space. But that's worth a view. And then you have, there's so many gardens. So I was going to maybe focus on the gardens in the surrounding my area, apart from obviously Kew and Chelsea. You have, so there's the Newt, which is a hotel. There's a hotel and gardens, which it's quite prestigious, but they have amazing they have an amazing vegetable garden there. Amazing farm shops, and they have actually got like an old Roman villa there that you can go and explore. And then you kind of got I think it's like a big space dedicated with bees, so you kind of learn about bees and kind of pollination and things.
Oh, that's neat.
Japanese garden too. It's very interesting, cool place, and that's about 30 minutes away from here.
And that's Newt. Is that Newt?
The Newt. A lot of events going on there. They have kind of events for kind of Christmas and obviously Halloween, and they have an apple day as well. So they're kind of themed on apples. So they have games. You can play bowls with apples and things like that. And they kind of create their own cider, and very cool, interesting place. And then you've got the Eden Project as well. I haven't actually been. So it's kind of like biodomes. 2 enclosures that consist of like tropical plants that we might not be able to grow outside. So it's own kind of like microclimate within these. So that's like a huge attraction that a lot of people really enjoy going to. But it's definitely on my list for sure.
Seems like it would be really inspiring, and definitely shows how far we can really kind of stretch things, I guess, if you under these.
It can be done.
Absolutely.
But there's loads of amazing kind of manor houses and estates in the southwest. You've got Ford Abbey as well, which is another kind of old estate with kind of grounds and gardens, like incredibly ornate buildings and architecture there. But there's lots and lots of those kind of small, unheard of hidden gems,
Well, I appreciate you sharing those because I think a lot of us, we would just kind of Google what's in London, so it's nice to hear from you. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing. It's like if you're traveling to the UK, London's obviously the place to go, right? Until you kind of experience the countryside and kind of the wilder parts of the UK, it's completely different. It's London's great, but it doesn't have everything.
Thank you for those recommendations. I appreciate it, and I'm sure the listeners will too.
Man, what a guy.
That wraps up part 1 of the interview with Bailey. Look out for part 2, where we chat all things Florida and his adventures here. That episode will be released soon. In the meantime, Bailey wants to connect. He's planning a potential 3rd trip here this winter. If you have a neat spot he should check out, whether it's a botanical garden, a park, a hidden gem in Florida that no one knows about, or even just a neat plant you're growing in your own yard, he's very interested in all things the Sunshine State, which we will dive into more on the next episode, but I wanted to go ahead and share that. His email will be in the show notes, so feel free to connect with him that way. All right, that's all I've got. Ta-ta for now.